All right, let's rock and roll. Uh, Evening, ladies. Hope everybody is doing well. Thank you for joining us for tonight's call. And as we continue to talk about the onboarding process and how we get new members started, I look forward to feedback and questions. If you guys have them, feel free to offer that. But tonight, Dana and I were going to kind of take the lead and um, and pretty much walk you guys through the process that we use for a new person that gets started to make sure that they have all the resources that they need to get their questions answered and get them started in a way that has them more likely to stick around and get the most out of their products and what they paid for. So we want to walk you guys through a little bit of that. Plus, Dana got the Authentic Influence book that came in that was new from Vital 180. So if you guys haven't heard about that, yeah, I can see Karen's face. So Dana just started that as well, and we're going to share a little bit of information about that. Like I mentioned, if you guys have questions, we'll take those, and then we'll talk events later on in the call. One of the things that we try to do is give you guys the most bang for your buck. So we'll give you guys the information. We're not going to hold you any longer than we need to, but but feel free to let me know if you guys have any questions. So, do you mind if I get started 1st You okay? So I just really briefly want to talk about how I personally get people started after they've gotten or after they've signed up for their kit. Dana and I were kind of similar in some aspects, but we both have a little bit of nuance to how we approach the individuals. And so for me personally, I am like, I play the long game and I'm all about the relationship with the individual. But knowing my tendency, for those who don't know, I am a questioner by nature that leans towards rebel. So typically, I don't mind helping people, but I usually do not want to do it more than once. I would rather equip people with the things that they need to be able to look up and find the information themselves. So one of the first things that I do is usually within the first week, a couple days after they ordered their kit, um, I just ask them. I validate their purchase. I let them know that we're excited to have them on our team. That they've made a great decision. I try to build excitement before their kit gets to them, and ask them if they have any questions before they even get their kit. Because typically, this is what will happen: is people, whenever we ask someone, "Do you have any questions?" They don't typically have questions in that moment. Dana asked me something earlier today, and I'm like, nope, can't think of anything. But I'm sure maybe a day or two later, I may have questions. So put that out there, get them thinking about coming up with their list, and encourage them to write it down as soon as possible. I also send them text. I asked them if it would be okay if I send them textables. So the premium starter kit comes with 11 oils, 11 or 12 oils, somewhere around there. I asked them, would it be okay if every day, if I sent you a graphic that gives you very basic information about each oil that comes in the kit? And I start that before they get their kit. And the reason that I do that is, once again, we want to build excitement, because sometimes this even happens. Like a person will get their kit, they'll order it, and before it gets to them, maybe 5 days have gone by, 7 days, but their excitement has lulled. They get their kit and they set it down somewhere in the house and they never open it. I mean, how many Young Living stories have you heard of people doing that? And it's just because we haven't built that anticipation. We honestly, when I look at what Amazon does, and unfortunately, Young Living's not there as far as the speed of how they get their or get your products to you. But the Amazon model, it works. Like every time I order something on Amazon, like I get an email right away that's like, "Thank you for your purchase. We're getting ready to ship it." As soon as it's left the warehouse, your item has left and is being shipped. Along the route, it's like your item is in Ohio. And so even though you were excited before, now I'm even more excited. I'm like, oh, it's getting here soon. It's going to be close. So that's what those text messages and those textables do for people, is they help to build the excitement before they even get their products. And so by the time that they've gotten their products, they've got information on a few oils that they can pull out of the kit right away and start using. Another thing that I do and I equip people with is an essential oil reference guide. So how many, just by a show of hands really quickly, how many people use those reference guides? I know. Okay. Um, if you're not, I encourage you to do so. Usually you can pick them up for about $10 a piece, or they might give you some kind of deal or bundle through Life Science Publishing. But why that's such a great or a great tool to use is because, like I told you, I don't want to answer everyone's questions. Um, I am the type of individual, like, I take time to do my own research, and I feel like everybody should. But if they don't, that's fine as well. Um, but by giving them that reference guide, then now my response whenever someone has a question, like if they have weird rashes, or they want to ask about babies and pregnancy, or sprains and aches and things like that, hey, what's your reference guide? Pull your reference guide. Do you still have your reference guide? That is always my response. And I can quickly reply to that, hey, check your reference guide. And people actually like those kinds of things because they feel like they're being rewarded as well. It's like giving them, this is my free gift to you. uh, oh, go ahead.
I just want to chime in on that too. And he talks about we have certain differing things with certain stuff. The other thing that I do is, especially, okay, if I know my people have their reference guide, I will screenshot stuff out of their reference guide, and I will remind them that, hey, I found this in the reference guide. Because sometimes I do feel like, although yes, you can shoot a text and be like, we'll check your reference guide, a lot of them aren't going to. So when you kind of screenshot it and just remind them, hey, I found this in the reference guide, you might benefit from it, then they will over time start thinking about, oh yeah. Like every time I ask Dana a question, she doesn't answer my question. She just sends me a screenshot from that reference guide that I have anyways. So I do think sometimes you got to know people's personalities, because I do know a lot of people that, you say check the reference guide and they're like, all right, I'm gonna just take my aspirin because I ain't doing all that. So I just want to add that.
Yeah, and that's very true. um, so be aware of people's personalities and do what works best for you. I know, me personally, I feel that people need to advocate for their own wellness, and so we want to create a culture where people are responsible for taking care of themselves, and we don't necessarily always want to be the resource. So once again, depending on your people, kind of tread or go from there. One of the other things I do is um, kind of chart how often that I talk to them. And usually, if we're having follow up conversation, I don't even talk about oils. I just send them a text, or I'll call them and say, hey, I'm just checking on you, see how everything's going. And the first thing that they usually say is, everything's going good. I'm loving my oils.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even bring it up. And so now we're talking about it. And if that comes up, I'm like, okay, cool. Which one are you using the most? Which one's your favorite? And let them explain about that, so that they're excited, and it reinforces in their minds and revalidates their purchase. That's usually within the first week after they get their kit. And then within 30 days, I think we mentioned this in the call before, but within 30 days, we want to contact them as well. We recently purchased a vehicle about a month ago, and one of the things that the salesman at the dealership did after we purchased the car was, like, 3 days later, I got a call. 7 days later, I got a text message from him. Hey, I'm just calling to see how you're enjoying the vehicle. 2 weeks after that, like, there was follow up. And even though at one point I'm like, why does he keep texting me? Everything's fine. I'm not going to text him back. That's just, it's good customer service.
Mm-hmm.
And remembering that we're in a business, we still need to conduct ourselves as a business, and that's good customer service to have that kind of follow up, whether they respond to it or not. You want to add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that too, because a few things I wanted to add to what he was saying. Because one, also, like, if literally every time you call this person, all you ever talk about is oils, then at some point they're going to stop answering the phone, because they're like, well, all they want to do is sell me something else, or all they want me to do is spend more money. And then the other part I wanted to add towards that is the good customer service part. Because then also, if all you ever did was sell me the kit and I never heard from you again, then now I'm like, oh, it was all about a kit sale. Like, you didn't take the time to see what my needs are. You didn't take the time to see how this fits in my lifestyle and what are the things that I can do to have better wellness. And a lot of times I've found where it might be, let's say they wanted Panaway from the kit because they had soreness and things that they were trying to address. And if you follow up with them and it's like, they're like, well, I used it and it doesn't seem like it's working. Well, if you never followed up with them, you wouldn't know that. So then now you're like, oh, well, you're not getting the results that you were looking for. Here's some other options. So then it's about caring about the person and filling their needs versus, just, yeah.
And then the other thing that I'll mention as well is, remember, aside from the fact that sometimes we feel like we have to lead in afterwards, like, hey, get to sharing, get to telling people, let's start a business. Young Living is really not about that. Dana and I were talking about this earlier today, about one of the other oil companies that everyone seems to know about. I don't want to say more than Young Living, but you do run across them quite a bit. And she's like, what's the difference? Why is it that people know about this company and they may not have heard of Young Living? And I say it purely comes down to marketing. Even though the product is not the same, it comes down to their marketing. And their marketing strategy is more sales oriented. So they lead from a sales standpoint, which is why they get a little bit more market penetration. So we want to set ourselves apart. We do want to come from a place of empathy and compassion. We don't want them to feel like we're just there for the quick buck and for the quick sale. And so following up with them, having a conversation, building that relationship is very important, and educating them really is the most important thing, because when we're inviting them to classes and giving them what they need is the other thing. But when we're inviting them to classes, our goal is to educate them. So I let them know about the upcoming classes that are coming up. Dana and I do classes not only just on products or body systems, but we also do financial wellness classes, because we want people to understand everything that Young Living has to offer. And we want to tie the two together and allow that person to make a decision for themselves. So I also include those in my text messages as well. Really briefly, because before we move over to that, I do want to bring up, let's see here. Does anyone use the textables from Vital 180? Okay. So I'm going to try to share my screen here and bring these up. Okay. Can everyone see my screen? Can you guys see Chrome? Yes. Okay. It looks like heads are nodding. Okay, cool. So Vital 180 recently, they redesigned the textables. You will find these on Vital 180's website when you log in under dashboard, shareables, and down here at the bottom, textables. Now, the reason I like these is because they're simple and concise. They are in alphabetical order, so you have more than what just the basic starter kit offers. And just to give you an example, because a lot of people like peppermint, peppermint's one of the more popular ones. If I scroll down to peppermint, which is usually the one that I start with, it tells them about peppermint, but it also gives them how to use it. So, for example, this one is add a drop in a glass of water, blend 1 to 2 drops with your pre-workout drink, or I think the bottom one was, use it in baking and desserts for a minty flavor. And the reason I like that is because sometimes people have attended classes, they may not have taken the best notes, or they may have forgotten about how to use the oil, what's the benefit of it. And this just gives them a quick, concise method. So in the home, it says Peppermint Vitality has a cool, refreshing flavor that can help support digestive function and reduce feelings of discomfort after large meals. Just something to bring a refresher. And now they have that at their fingertips. So I always encourage people to use them. You can download them to your phone. And it will, I believe, The old ones used to populate with your member number. I don't believe that these do, but most of the oils, if not all of them that come in the starter kit, plus ones that people can use later on, they're all under the textable section.
The other nice thing is they have all the promo stuff. So that's another thing that on a monthly basis, like people need to know what the promotions are, because there's been so many times where I've found people are at like 92 or something like that, where it's like, oh, if you just, added like an oil or something,
The lip balm.
you could get to 100, and then they could get a whole free product. A lot of people don't do that because they have no idea. Like, we can't just assume that like they're getting the Young Living emails and they're getting this, and stuff like that, because they probably aren't. So like you might know the promos, but you want to make sure that they know what the promos are too, because it might be things that they're like, oh, I'm willing to go ahead and add a few more things on here in order to get, some of this free stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's cool because they're in the textables. So you can text them, well, why you want to use the charcoal bar soap, why you want to use, certain things.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to give you guys a little bit of insight. Remember I told you Dana got the brand new book from Vital 180. On there is the new member checklist.
Can I actually back up?
Sure.
I'm sorry. The other thing that I did want to add, and actually Scott and Brenda talked about this on their live before going through the checklist, and I thought this was super, super powerful. And I haven't started implementing this, but I want to. They suggest when this person purchases the kit, ask them what is the best way to contact them. Okay, so is it? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, never mind. I'm sorry. It is on the checklist. So
no, so let's go through that then.
Okay.
And then I'll allow you to reiterate that a little bit.
Okay.
So I encourage, if you can get access to this checklist, I encourage you to invest in it, because it is a very good way to have a system and a model for everyone to follow, so that everyone does things the same way. Scott and Brenda put this together because it's tried and tested and it works. So on this new member checklist, it has at the top where they can put their name, their member number, email address, phone number, address, and then, like Dana mentioned, preferred method of contact. So it gives examples: email, text, phone call, WhatsApp for our international people. And that is very important. I'll go ahead and let you elaborate on that.
Okay.
Preferred method of contact.
Yeah. So what they were just saying is, you want to know what the best way to contact them is, because you don't want to annoy people, or you don't want them to not get the messages, right? So like he just gave the example. He's like, if you shoot me an email, I'm not going to see it. Like, I'm not going to read it. So that is the worst way to contact me. He's like, I'm not social media. Don't get in my DMs or my PMs and send me something, because it might be days before I see that, right? He's like, I'm a texter. So you text me, I'm back. If you call me, I'm going to look at my phone like, why are they calling? Like, why didn't they text me? Right? But if you have that clarity in the beginning, then you will know how to follow up with them. Now, it's not on here, but another thing too, some people, you need to actually physically go to their homes, pull out their oils, unscrew the caps, and show them what you're explaining, right? Because you can text them all day long and they're like, oh yeah, that was a pretty text, thanks. And then you ask them, so how are you doing peppermint? Oh, I haven't opened it, but I sent you a text about it. Like, right? So again, we really, really want to be transparent and make sure we're clear. Like, is this the best way to contact you? Because we don't want to lose people, and we don't want to annoy people either.
Yeah. And then with something like this, you can actually sit down with people and start going through almost immediately. So you don't have to wait for them to get their kit to actually start putting this information in. And a lot of the things that they talk about on the sheet we mentioned before. So it says things to do upon enrollment as soon as possible. So it says send a personal welcome. So once again, that's that validation of their purchase. That can be a text, a postcard, a letter, or an email. Knowing their preferred method of contact really helps. I'm like Scott. Text me. if you call me, I'm assuming somebody's dying. And I probably, so then I'm irritated with that I answered the phone and it was something not non-essential at the moment. So it's very important to respect that of individuals and keep that in mind. One of the other things you can do is add a member to your team Facebook group. Now we have a bunch of them, but I would recommend that you add them to the one that has the most activity. Number one, you want people to be able to get their information and questions answered in the group, but more importantly, you want them to see that there's more than just you. You want them to see camaraderie. You want them to see that that even though we're a small part of somebody else's larger team, we are still a larger team of a very large company.
And then to add to that, again, that would be another thing. Ask them, right? Because you might find people, yeah, they have a Facebook page, but they never sign in on it. So then they're in this group and you're assuming they're getting this education. You're assuming that they're seeing these things. You're tagging them and stuff and you're doing all these great things. And they're like, I don't even know my password, which I've literally had one of my more recent members. I was like, yeah, so you still haven't accepted me as your friend. And she's like, yeah, I don't even know what the password is. So, you know what I mean? So it's like, you know, sometimes you want to just make sure like they're going to get the information.
So another thing we talked about is sending the wild text. So sending those textables to them about what they can expect to get in their kit. The other thing is the 3-month wellness consult. So we've talked about that before, those wellness consults that help us to understand what a person is looking to get out of Young Living, what are their wellness goals. I like to expand it to talk about more than just their physical goals. What are your mental health goals? What are your financial health goals? Dana and I, we did a podcast a while ago on the 8 pillars of wellness, and it's more than just your physical. So maybe that's something that they want to address. The nice thing about it is Young Living typically has something to address every single aspect of wellness. So get to know that by going through that wellness consult with them. The other things that it mentions is at which points do you check in with people? So they have 3 days, 10 days, and 30 days out. At 3 days, you can do things like start sending those textables. It asks, have they gotten the reference guide or app? So get that reference guide in their hands as soon as possible. Go ahead.
So just to add to that too, are they a person that wants an app or are they a person that's going to flip a book, right? So don't waste your money handing somebody a book that they're like, I ain't read a book since I was in school. Like everything I do is on my phone, right? So it makes more sense to encourage them to get the app. So that's the way it's at their fingertips, you know, because they might be in a bind where they're out and about and they're like, oh, my head is hurting, but I don't know what to do. And that book is on my shelf, you know? So if they have the app, they can go ahead and use it. So again, kind of knowing their personality. I'm a type of person, I love books. So like I'm a weirdo and I will carry the reference guidebook with me everywhere. You know what I mean? So again, you kind of have to know the personality.
Yeah. Also, have they explored the Facebook group? So we've talked about adding them, but like Dana mentioned, follow up with them to see if they've looked through the Facebook group and if they're getting acclimated with that as well. Do they know about the Getting Started training for Vital 180? And this one's important because sometimes we think that we just send people for Vital 180 training who want to do the business, but the Getting Started training gives them actually everything that they need for a firm basis on even using their product and understanding what Young Living is as a company. So it's important that every single person that gets enrolled with Young Living, that's mentioned to them as well, that they know how to sign in to Vital 180, which is their same sign in for their Young Living back office line sign in. But make sure that they're aware of that so that they have that at their disposal. And then also go through and complete the wellness consult with them. I know in the past I've made the mistake of sometimes sending it to them and say, hey, fill this out and send it back to me. Some people have done that, but if you sit down with them and you guys fill it out together, then number one, you're going to make sure that it gets completed. But it also will help hold them or make them feel a little bit more accountable. And you will help be their accountability partner because you guys have gone through it together and you fully understand what they're looking for. And they appreciate that you've taken the time out to invest in them for their wellness goals as well. And then on the sheet, there's a place for you to write down their top 3 wellness goals. So they may have 15, 20 wellness goals, all of which still at some point need to be addressed, but what are their top priority? What are the top three that we can address over the next 3 to 6 months to get you results so that you're satisfied with your product and your investment? Um, at 10 days, did their kit arrive? So now we're wondering, have they received their kit? Um, have they navigated the virtual office? So that's their Young Living virtual office. Have they gotten familiar with what's available back there? Especially, it lists some of the things that they can look at behind there, like the YL blog, the Young Living Facebook page, virtual office training. But the big one to me is show them is the Essential Rewards tab, because if we're signing them up uh, on Essential Rewards, which is what we should be striving to do, but even if they haven't signed up, that's the one tab that I feel like people need to know where it is and how it works, so that they can sign up for their ER or adjust their Essential Rewards order should they need to.
And I will say that's important too, because I have had people in the past where, and this is probably more before we could just click our first order being our Essential Rewards, but it was like, I didn't get points. I don't know why I didn't get points. And it's like, oh no, but you placed a quick order. You didn't place it in Essential Rewards. And they're like, well, what's the difference? That, because this is new to them. So you have to actually kind of walk them through and say like, hey, this is the difference between placing it here. This is the difference between placing it there, and show them how all of that works. And for me too, I even want to make it easy. Should you at some point say, hey, I don't really feel like I benefit from Essential Rewards. Like the whole tab tells you, okay, if you need to ever cancel, here it is. If you want to ever change your date because that date doesn't work because you don't have money this time, or if you want to change the orders, because how many times have you had people that it's like they get the same order and it was like because it's a new routine for them. So they might have to be reminded of those things and know where some of those things are in their virtual office, because it's not because sometimes people think that like, oh, I'm buying this from this person, right? But they don't realize it's really more set up to you. I'm your referral, and you have your own space to place orders and to do things and get knowledge and things like that. So it might be a little bit different in how they're used to purchasing things.
Yeah. And on the sheet here, in line with that, it has 3 spots for you to put products suggested for wellness goals. So when we've gone over those wellness goals for them, write down the 3 products that they should probably start with their ER order with. Usually that's going to be around $100, if not more, or 100 PV, if not more. But write those down so that you remember. And they may not remember what it is that you recommended as well, but they should have. Now we have a record to go back and help them with that. And then at 30 days out, now you're scheduling follow-up calls, asking things like, how's it going? What are you love using? And there are specific dates. There's a place for you to write the date that you last contacted them. So that way you're keeping in touch with them every 30 days at least. How are they feeling? Have you sent them any resources, samples, videos, blog articles, anything like that? There's a place for you to write the date there so that you can remember that. And then also below that is a place where you can write products that they're most excited about. So if they have been using something the past 30 days and they're seeing results and it excites them, write that down because you know that that's their favorite. So here's a suggestion that I actually do because this is just me, but we get a ton of free products from Essential Rewards. Some of them that have been sitting stockpiled in our medicine cabinet for like over a year or two. If it's one of their favorite products and I haven't used it or I'm not going to use it right away, I will give it to them and say, I will gift it to them and say, hey, here, I know you like this. Here, I was thinking about you. I thought you might like to have this product. And if it's their favorite, they're really going to appreciate that. It's going to help with the relationship as well. And it goes a long way. And then you want to keep momentum. So there's a place that on the bottom of the page that is designated for things that help to keep your people around. It asks questions. How has their health changed? So in your follow-up calls, these are questions that maybe you're not asking them specifically, but you're trying to ascertain. So you may have to ask them, are they feeling, if we're asking, how are you feeling? Are you feeling better? Write those notes down. But that's for you to know, how has their health changed? Are they getting results? Like Dana mentioned, with the example of Panaway. Maybe Panaway is not working for them. If they're not getting results, well, let's recommend something else for them to try. Who do they want to share with? I mean, usually by nature, and this is the nature of sharing, and this is how people should understand what it even means to share Young Living. If you get somebody excited enough about something, they will automatically tell others about it. We don't have to push them to do it. I know when I see a good movie, I'm telling everybody and their mama how good the movie was and you need to go. Good restaurant, telling everybody and their mama how good the restaurant is and you need to go. Only difference is AMC is not paying me and neither is the restaurant. So I help them to appreciate that. And I ask them, so who do you want to share with?
And I'll just add to that, because something that Scott and Brenda brought out too that I thought was interesting is, after you have asked like the question, how has their health changed? So let's say, for example, they had an amazing experience with Panaway or whatnot. Phrasing things to get their minds thinking, every time I have an amazing experience, I share this with somebody. So, oh, wow, you had an amazing experience with Panaway. Who else do you know that might be able to benefit from that? And then once they give you somebody's name, so what did they say when you told them about it, right? And then they're like, wait, I didn't tell them about it or whatnot. But now in their head, they're like, oh, so maybe I should tell them about it then, right? So then you're planting that seed where, again, it doesn't have to be weird. Like, you don't have to be salesy. It's just, if you had an experience, you want to share that with somebody else. So I like the way they phrase that too, because it was almost like, okay, great. So when did you tell them, or what did you tell them about it? And the person's like, wait, what? You know, so it creates that system of making it easier to share.
Yeah. And at that point, I mean, if we're keeping track of who they want to share with, and likewise they are, maybe they're keeping more so mentally, but we're writing down these people's name. That's when we can schedule a class. Well, hey, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people here. Hey, let's do a class. Invite all 5 people. I'll come. We'll talk about, the same way I introduced you. We'll talk about some of the products and how it might help benefit them. When would you like to do your class? What does your schedule look like? And you can write down first class scheduled for this date. And adding some of the Adam Green nuance in there, I would also recommend too, choose 2 dates. Try to choose 2 dates for them, because, we know the law of averages, sometimes people won't show up to the first one. So have them schedule 2 classes. And then once they schedule a class, that's when you introduce them to V2NL, so they can start doing STAR training, sharing third-party resources on network marketing, on how to invite. That's when you start sharing those resources, so that now they're not overwhelmed and it's something that they want to do. And now we've just provided them with a tool to be able to accomplish it.
Yeah. And I will add to that too, because sometimes we also have a tendency to like throw up information on them in the beginning. It's like, here's my welcome package. Here's how multi-level marketing works. Here is, your reference guide. Here is this, here is that. And they're like, okay, now I don't want to do any of it, because that was too much. Now I'm overwhelmed. So that's why I do like how it breaks down. So 3 days, 10 days, 30 days, right? So we're not necessarily coming out the gates with everything so they're not overwhelmed, but we're slowly incorporating this into their life, and they're seeing the pieces fall into place.
Yeah. And then you can track their progress too. Let's see here. So on the bottom here, where it says moving on up, I know it's probably not very clear, but you can also chart their rank as they advance. And then I would honestly, I would write down the date that they hit it, because on the anniversary of, them hitting that rank, or still being in Young Living, you could send them maybe a postcard or send them a text like, hey, congratulations, you've been a senior star executive for a year, or what have you. Let them know that we're thinking about them. So I like the way that this is formatted, because it's very systematic, to help you keep track of when you should contact people, what you should contact them with, and what tools you should be using as well. So if you have the opportunity, get that book.
Yeah.
There's a lot more information and tidbits in it that's going to help you, but I like the way that that's formatted.
The other thing that while they start and maybe hit some of these ranks, I say also celebrate every little thing. Sometimes I think we're like, oh, they hit star, woo, woo, woo. But hey, they just shared with something and sold a kit. Celebrate that. Like, that is awesome. Like, you know, send them some love, like shout them out, because that is hard. Not everybody does that, right? If you sell one kit, you're doing way more than a lot of people have done. So they sign up for Essential Rewards, celebrate it. Like, you're changing your life. You're going to make things better for your family. Like, celebrate all of those little things with them to help encourage them along. Everything is really a big deal. Like,
Absolutely. So that's what we wanted to share with you guys at this time. I want to take the opportunity to open up. If you guys have any questions, or maybe there's something that you may be struggling with or might find difficult that maybe we could help provide some insight with, now would be the time. I'll allow you guys that opportunity. Okay, cool. Well, like I mentioned, if you guys think of anything, let me know. I'll see, gears are going. Go ahead, Karen.
Doesn't that always happen? So I didn't know if you mentioned how to get that checklist.
So that checklist is in this book that Vital 180 just put out. Was it a week ago?
yeah. I feel like, though, are you in the core?
No, I am. I'm just doing this for the recording for people too. Like, I'm kind of jealous because I ordered mine and it's not yet here. But I'm super excited that it's going to be a systematic approach, right? So now I can actually say, here's this checklist. When you get somebody started, this is what we need to do. I am jacked that this is actually happening. Like, I have my own checklist, and now it's going to be something that is just going to be taught throughout our whole organization. But I just wanted to kind of like include like how to get it.
So I know that it's a document uploaded in the core. I don't know if it's in just the regular Vital 180 though.
Okay, so in order to get this, we need to go into Vital 180. If you're interested in the checklist, you can either reach out to either of us, or somebody in your upline might have it that they can share, or you can actually go to the Vital 180 Core Facebook. In order to get into that, you need to fill out like a little form, and once it's approved, because we are only allowing, Scott and Brenda are only allowing certain people in that group. And it's just based off of whether or not you are actually doing your 50 PV, which most people are. Who doesn't? I mean, it's a great deal. You're in Vital 180. So, right?
Yeah, and
Okay.
you're serious about actually growing a business or
doing
things, like, you know, because right now we're getting accountability partners, you know what I mean? Like, you have to be serious about running.
Yeah. So I'm excited about that. I'm really, really excited about it. So thank you for sharing that. Just giving me just another little tickler, like, oh my gosh, it's coming. It's in the mail somewhere.
Like, I was really jealous though. So both of my accountability partners, so I have 2 accountability partners because I just feel like I need to. And both of them like actually live like not too far from Scott and Brenda. And so they're like, oh yeah, I just went over and picked it up. I was like, oh nice, yeah.
Well, can you overnight it to me? That'd be great.
Okay. So. All right. Yeah, cool. Thank you for asking that, Karen, so that everybody knows where to get it. Let's move on to events that are upcoming that anyone would like to promote. We do want to start with, oh, you have the calendar in front of you. I'll let you go ahead and go through the events.
Okay, so the first one that I have for us is going to be this upcoming Friday, June 14th. 6:30 p.m. We'll be out in Dearborn at that Big B on Ford Road. So that's going to be Active and Fit Summer. If there is any support that I can get, I would absolutely love that. I know some people are way too far for that, but so Tashina will not be there because she's on a cruise, and my husband will not be there because he is working afternoons. If anybody could possibly support that, because I'll have my kids who will be at a Big B in a public facility, like, Yeah, so I can use all the help and love possible. Would be awesome.
What time is that?
So it's 6:30 p.m.
Is it 7?
6:30. I think she froze up. So, but yeah, 6:30 p.m.
Okay. And then after that, Tashina is going to do a Facebook class Tuesday, June 18th. And that will be at 8:30 p.m. And that'll be summer fun, stay well, and keep toxic free. And then after that, for those in like the Cleveland area, the Empower Young Living on the Grow, that will be Saturday, June 22nd from 9 to 5. Tuesday, June 25th. Oh, that's in Spanish. I can't even read that. That's at 8:30 p.m.
Summer fun Facebook class.
Oh, it's
in
the same
Spanish.
Facebook.
So it's that same class in Spanish.
And then Sunday, July 7th at 3:30 p.m. That'll be the Savvy Spa Party, and it'll be at Tashina's new place. So that'll be in Bloomfield Hills. Okay.
So yeah, we have those events coming up, and then next month is convention. So who's excited about a convention? We can't wait to go. Yeah, so that starts the July 17th. And I am still putting that out there that if anyone is still looking for accommodations, we do have an Airbnb in Saratoga Springs, which is not too far from the downtown area. So if you know anyone who's still looking for accommodations or needs help finding a place, feel free to point them in our direction. And I think that's it. Does anybody else have anything that they would like to promote or anything else going on?
The only thing that I have is that the first Friday of every month, we're in Bigby in Heartland, and it changes every single month. Although, the more I look at this, I'm like, 4th of July is the 4th, and the first Friday is the 5th. We might need to change that just because it probably won't be the most effective date. So I don't know about that. I'll talk to Marlene and see what she thinks. But and just don't forget that Executive and Above. It's in June 23rd, I believe, still with Shannon Hudson. I have that on my calendar. No?
No, I didn't have that one, so thank you.
Oh yeah, June 23rd, Executive and Above. So we might need somebody to help cover that Sunday too.
Yep.
So
Okay.
that's it.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. Cool beans.
Thank you
everyone.
guys for all the great advice and suggestions. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys could get on. Hopefully, we were able to help you guys.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, perfect.
We'll see you guys next week, and everybody take care until the next one.
Bye,
Everybody have a
guys.
good night.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night.
Night.